Sometimes God hides your future so your faith can grow into it. You're squinting into the dark, trying to understand what's next, but God already wrote the chapter, already signed the blessing, already aligned the opportunity. You can't see it yet, but it is in the Spirit. God prepares the blessing before He reveals the path. This truth is both comforting and challenging, because it forces us to understand that God's movements don't happen on our schedule, and His preparation rarely takes place in the areas we can see. When God prepares something for you, He doesn't start when you start looking. He starts long before you even knew to ask, long before you recognize the desire, long before the dream formed in your spirit. God begins the preparation in the unseen places, in the hidden layers of your life, orchestrating events, shifting people, moving resources, and aligning timing so that when you finally step into what you've been praying for, everything is already set in order. Think about how often we assume that God works only when we feel movement. If we don't see doors opening, if we don't hear opportunities knocking, if we don't feel progress, we assume God is silent. But His silence is not inactivity. His silence is strategy. Before God reveals the path, He makes sure the blessing on the other side of it is complete. He's not trying to catch up to your life. He's waiting for you to catch up to the plan He finished before you were born. This is why you can't rush destiny. You can prepare for it, pray for it, believe for it, but you can't force it before it's time. Because God refuses to release a blessing that isn't ready, or a blessing you're not ready to carry. Most people want the path before the preparation. They want clarity before they want character. They want direction before development. But God does the opposite. He first completes the blessing, then He works on the vessel, you, and only then does He reveal the way to reach what He has already prepared. This is why your journey can feel confusing. You're walking in places where God hasn't shown you the full picture yet, not because He's withholding it, but because the blessing has to be built first. You can't walk into a house that hasn't been constructed. You can't receive a position that doesn't exist yet. You can't meet a person who isn't aligned with their own purpose yet. God prepares the blessing completely, and then He turns His attention toward preparing you to receive it. When you understand this, you stop panicking in the seasons where you can't see progress. You stop doubting the moments where everything seems still. You stop comparing your timeline to someone else's, because you realize God isn't working according to how fast you want to go. He's working according to how ready the blessing needs to be, and how mature you need to be to handle it. Many people ask, why hasn't it happened yet? But the real question is the blessing ready? And am I ready for what I'm asking for? God won't give you something that would overwhelm you. He won't let you walk into a room your character isn't strong enough to stay in. He won't give you a platform if your discipline can't protect it. He won't give you influence if your humility can't carry it. He prepares the blessing, but He also prepares the person. Often, it is the preparation of the person that takes the longest. The blessing is easy for God. He can create opportunities instantly. He can shift circumstances overnight. He can turn things around in a moment. But preparing you, your mindset, your faith, your strength, your wisdom, that takes time. And because God is intentional, He doesn't reveal the path until the preparation is complete. Imagine receiving something too soon. You would mishandle it, or fear it, or lose it, or sabotage it. So God protects you by delaying access until both pieces are ready, the blessing and the person who will receive it. You might be praying for something right now that God has already finished preparing, but He's still strengthening you for it. Or maybe you're ready, but He's finishing the blessing. Either way, the delay is not a sign that God forgot you. It is evidence that God is preparing something bigger than you expected. What God prepares is always more complex, more layered, more supernatural than what we imagine. That's why preparation takes time. Big blessings require deep foundations. Powerful callings require strong spiritual muscles. Destiny requires durability, not haste. Sometimes God hides the path because if you saw it too soon, you would run toward it without the strength to complete it. If He showed you the blessing too early, you might try to open the door yourself, and in doing so, break the very thing meant to bless you. God reveals the path only when both the blessing and the receiver are synchronized in heavenly timing. The moment that happens, the path becomes clear, the opportunities appear, the doors open, and everything you've been waiting for starts unfolding quickly. This is why breakthroughs often feel sudden. People will think it just happened, but it didn't just happen. It was being prepared long before it appeared. What looked like an overnight change was actually a long divine process reaching its moment of release. When the path appears suddenly, it's because the blessing was being prepared silently. So when you can't see the path, don't lose faith. When you don't feel progress, don't get discouraged. When the door stays closed, don't assume God said no. The blessing is being finished. The preparation is being perfected. God is not delaying you. He is preparing you and preparing the place you're headed. Trust the unseen work. Trust the silence. Trust that God's preparation is better than your rush. And when He reveals the path, you will discover that everything you prayed for was not just answered, it was prepared in perfection long before you ever knew you needed it. Delay is not denial, it's divine timing at work. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because when you're waiting, it can feel like God has forgotten you or placed you on the back burner while He moves for everyone else. But delay is not a punishment. Delay is not abandonment. Delay is a carefully engineered, spiritually significant process that God uses to align your life with His purpose and prepare you for the things you're praying for. When God delays something, He is not rejecting it. He is perfecting it. He is shaping the moment, the environment, the people, and even your own character so that when the blessing finally arrives, you can handle it, protect it, and maximize it. Most people misunderstand delay because they think delay equals inactivity. They look at the silence and assume God isn't doing anything. They look at the closed door and assume it will never open. They look at the slow progress and think it is the end of the story. But delay is not God stopping your life. Delay is God synchronizing your life. God is working behind the scenes even when nothing seems to be moving. He is coordinating connections you haven't met yet, strengthening your spirit for challenges you don't see yet, and building opportunities that aren't ready yet. Divine timing is not accidental. It is precise, specific, and perfect. You may not understand it in the moment, but eventually you'll look back and realize that the delay was the only reason the blessing did not collapse in your hands. God's timing often feels late because we measure time by impatience, while God measures time by preparation. We want answers fast. God wants answers that last. We want breakthrough now. God wants breakthrough that will not break us later. What we call waiting, God calls aligning. What we call delay, God calls developing. What we call nothing is happening, God calls everything is coming together. And the truth is, if God gave you what you're praying for right now, you might not have the strength, wisdom, or maturity to handle it. Divine timing ensures that what is meant for you will arrive when you and it are both ready. Sometimes the delay is not about the blessing needing more time. Sometimes it's about you needing more time. You may be praying for promotion, but God is building the emotional stability to handle leadership. You may be praying for a relationship, but God is teaching you how to love yourself so you don't depend on someone else to fill your emptiness. You may be praying for a platform, but God is strengthening your humility so success won't intoxicate you. God will not rush His timing just to satisfy your impatience. He operates with your destiny in mind, not your momentary desire. But sometimes the delay has nothing to do with you at all. It has to do with everyone and everything connected to the blessing. God may be preparing a person you haven't met yet, someone who will open a door for you when the time is right. God may be positioning resources you will need down the road. God may be shifting environments that would have crushed you if you walked into them too early. Divine timing is bigger than your personal calendar. It involves people you don't know, places you haven't gone, and opportunities you haven't imagined. God is arranging the puzzle pieces of your future, and delay is a sign that He is making sure nothing is missing. In divine timing, delay always has purpose. Sometimes the purpose is protection. God will delay you to shield you from walking into something harmful. You may think the opportunity is great, but God sees the betrayal, the stress, the heartbreak, the trap that you cannot see. He will delay you, not to deny you, but to protect you from what you cannot discern. Other times, delay is pruning. God uses waiting seasons to cut off unhealthy habits, toxic attachments, wrong mindsets, or internal insecurities. If he gave you the blessing while those things still lived inside you, the blessing would suffocate or disappear. Delay becomes the scalpel God uses to shape you into the person who can sustain what he plans to give. Delay can also be training. Every time God slows down the process, he is strengthening your endurance, sharpening your discernment, and maturing your faith. Waiting is not weakness, it is spiritual conditioning. It teaches you how to trust God when you can't trace him. It teaches you to anchor your hope in his promise rather than in your circumstances. It teaches you to believe in his character even when you don't understand his timing. Faith that only works when things happen quickly is not faith, it is convenience. Real faith is forged in delay. Real trust is built in patience. Real maturity is produced in seasons where you must cling to God even when you feel overlooked. Delay is also proof that God is preparing something bigger than what you asked for. When God takes his time, he is building something you weren't expecting. What you think is late is actually loaded. God doesn't delay small blessings. He delays great ones. He doesn't delay shallow breakthroughs. He delays deep ones. He doesn't take extra time for ordinary things. He takes time for extraordinary ones. When the delay is long, it's because the blessing is weighty. You cannot carry something significant without significant preparation. One of the greatest gifts God gives you in delay is perspective. When you finally step into his promise, you appreciate it more deeply because you know how long you waited, how much you grew, and how far God carried you. The blessing becomes sweeter after the storm. The victory becomes louder after the battle. The door becomes more meaningful because you remember the seasons where every door stayed shut. Divine timing makes you grateful. Divine timing makes you wiser. Divine timing makes you stronger. Divine timing makes you ready. And here is the beautiful part: nothing God delays can be taken from you. When God holds something back, it is never at risk. When God pauses something, it is never lost. When God slows you down, it is never sabotage. What is for you is sealed. What God has written cannot be erased. Delay does not change destiny. It ensures destiny. So don't let delay discourage you. Don't let waiting weaken your confidence. Don't let silence break your spirit. The delay is not because God said no. It's because God is saying, not yet. I'm preparing something better. Every minute of delay is filled with purpose. Every moment of waiting is working for your good. And when God's timing finally intersects with your obedience, what felt slow will suddenly feel supernatural. You will step into a moment that reminds you the delay was never denial. It was divine timing shaping your life for something far greater than you expected. Your faith must grow before your future shows. This is one of the deepest spiritual principles God uses to shape destiny, because God does not hand the weight of your calling to a weak foundation. Before God reveals the next chapter, he strengthens the person who will carry it. Before he opens the door, he develops the character to walk through it. Before he releases the blessing, he matures the spirit that will sustain it. So when you feel like your life is paused, when nothing is moving, when heaven seems silent and the promise feels far away, understand this: God is not withholding your future. He is growing your faith until it can stand under the weight of what he is preparing. You cannot step into a future your faith is not ready for. God will not elevate you into a place that your trust in him cannot survive. Faith is the currency of destiny. It is the spiritual muscle that lifts you into the next level. It is the anchor that keeps you steady when storms rise on the journey ahead. If God gave you the future too early, you would collapse under the pressure, doubt every step you take, and possibly sabotage the very thing he intended to bless you with. God grows your faith first because faith is the vehicle that carries you to your destiny. Growth never feels comfortable. When God prepares your faith, it often shows up as challenges, tests, unanswered questions, disruptions, and uncomfortable seasons. You may think the enemy is attacking you, but sometimes God is stretching you. He is expanding your capacity to believe beyond what you see. He is teaching you to depend on him when everything else shakes. He is strengthening your spiritual endurance so you can stand firm in the next season. If faith is not strengthened by ease, it is strengthened by resistance. Just like muscles grow by pushing against weight, your faith grows by pushing through trials. Every time you trust God when it doesn't make sense, your faith grows. Every time you choose obedience over comfort, your faith grows. Every time you refuse to quit when you feel overwhelmed, your faith grows. God uses waiting seasons to stretch your faith. Waiting is not passive. It is spiritual training. Waiting teaches you to trust the timing of God rather than the urgency of your emotions. It teaches you to hold on to what God said even when nothing around you reflects what He promised. It teaches you to rest in His character when His timeline confuses you. Waiting reveals the depth of your trust. Anyone can have faith when the answer comes fast. But true faith is born when the answer is delayed, when the path is unclear, and when you must walk by belief instead of sight. Many people ask for big blessings, but have small faith. They want God to give them more, but they don't want Him to grow them first. They want the harvest without the planting. They want the promotion without the preparation. They want the miracle without the maturity. But God loves you too much to give you something your current faith cannot hold. If He gave it too soon, you would think you did it by your own strength. You would try to control it instead of steward it. You would rely on your own strategy instead of His Spirit. God will not let you step into a future that your faith cannot maintain. Sometimes God delays the future because He is removing fear. Fear and faith cannot coexist in the same space. Fear will always fight your calling. It will steal your courage, shrink your vision, and choke your potential. So before God reveals the next part of your journey, He confronts the fear inside you. He uses tests to expose insecurities. He uses quiet moments to break anxiety. He uses battles to grow boldness. Faith grows strongest in the places where fear once lived. Other times, God grows your faith by pulling away the things you used to depend on. People who once supported you may suddenly be removed. Doors that once opened easily may close. Opportunities that seemed guaranteed may disappear. It feels like loss, but it is actually liberation. God is disconnecting you from the things that compete with your faith. He is removing false foundations so you can stand on Him alone. When God becomes your only source, your faith becomes unshakable. And it's that kind of faith that prepares you for a future God-sized, not human-sized. Faith growth also happens when God pushes you into situations where you have no choice but to trust Him. Sometimes the only way to grow is to walk through what scares you. You learn to pray deeper when you can't solve it yourself. You learn to depend on God when the situation is bigger than your wisdom. You discover strength you never knew you had because you're forced to use it. These seasons are not punishments. They are promotions in disguise. God is preparing you for a level you cannot reach with yesterday's faith. Faith is more than belief, it is spiritual sight. Faith sees what the natural eye cannot see. Faith sees possibility where reality says impossible. Faith sees hope where circumstances say give up. Faith sees the future God has prepared even when the present looks uncertain. So before God reveals the future openly, He reveals it internally inside your faith. If you cannot see it in your faith, you will not recognize it when it arrives. Faith is the lens through which the future becomes visible. Your future is connected to your capacity. The more your faith grows, the more your capacity expands. Faith makes room for bigger vision, stronger purpose, deeper calling, and greater responsibility. When God calls you into something great, He must first enlarge your belief so you can handle the size of your destiny. If your faith stays small, your future will stay small. Not because God limited you, but because you limited yourself. Faith is the key that unlocks the door to everything God has planned. This is why God doesn't show the full future too early. If you saw it now, you might run the wrong way trying to reach it without spiritual maturity. Or you might reject it because it looks too big for your current confidence. Or you might fear it because it looks beyond your present abilities. God waits until your faith rises to the level of your calling. Then, when the future finally shows, it matches the strength inside you. What once looked impossible becomes believable. What once looked overwhelming becomes attainable. What once looked too big becomes exactly what you were built for. Faith and future are twins. They grow together. When your faith reaches the place where you can handle the future God prepared, the future will begin to reveal itself. Doors will open. Connections will appear. Clarity will come. Opportunities will unfold. Not because they suddenly existed, but because your faith finally grew enough to step into them. So if you're in a season where the future feels hidden, where the next step is unclear, where the vision looks blurry, don't panic. Don't assume God is holding back. Understand that He is growing your faith so your future won't crush you when it comes. Trust the growth. Embrace the stretching. Lean into the discomfort. These are not signs of delay. They are signs that the future is on the way and God is preparing you to meet it. Your faith must grow before your future shows, not because God is slow, but because He is wise. Not because He wants to withhold, but because He wants you to win. And when the future finally unfolds, you will step into it with confidence, strength, and spiritual maturity, ready to carry everything God has prepared with boldness and grace. Hidden seasons are preparation seasons. This truth is one of the most misunderstood parts of spiritual development because people often think that if they're unseen, unnoticed, uncelebrated, or not progressing publicly, then nothing meaningful is happening. But in the kingdom of God, the most powerful growth happens underground. The most important shaping happens in the silence. The most transformative development happens when nobody is watching. Hidden seasons are not wasted seasons. They are intentional, divine workshops where God prepares you for what He's about to reveal in your life. When God hides you, He is not punishing you. He is protecting you. He is shielding you from premature exposure, premature responsibility, and premature pressure. If you step into visibility before you are internally ready, the weight of being seen will crush you. The spotlight can burn you if your character isn't strong enough to handle its heat. God hides you to strengthen the parts of you that still need time to grow, stabilize, and mature. You may feel forgotten, but God is forming you. You may feel delayed, but God is developing you. You may feel overlooked, but heaven is overworking to prepare you. Hidden seasons feel slow. They feel quiet. They feel lonely. You pray and hear nothing. You move and see nothing. You work and feel nothing changing. These seasons test your patience and challenge your identity because everything in you wants to be seen, recognized, validated, or used by God. But God does not launch people who are unprepared. He does not elevate people who can't withstand pressure. He does not accelerate people who lack roots. What grows fast breaks fast, but what grows deep lasts. And hidden seasons are where God grows your roots deep enough to hold the future He's preparing. God develops skills in hidden seasons. David killed lions and bears long before he ever faced Goliath. That means his giant slaying strength didn't come from the battlefield. It came from the pasture where nobody was watching. Moses learned leadership in the wilderness long before he led Israel. Joseph learned administration in prison before he managed an empire. Jesus Himself lived 30 years in obscurity before 3 years of ministry. Hidden seasons don't delay destiny. They prepare you for it. They shape discipline, endurance, humility, obedience, and wisdom, the ingredients necessary to sustain elevation. In hidden seasons, God also purifies your motives. When no one is watching, your heart becomes exposed. Are you serving for applause or because you're called? Are you working for recognition or out of obedience? Are you chasing purpose or validation? Hidden seasons remove external affirmations so your motives can be refined. God cannot build a public platform on private insecurity. He will not elevate you if you need the praise of people to feel worthy. In the hidden place, He teaches you to find identity in Him alone. Hidden seasons teach consistency. When you continue to develop, serve, pray, and work even when nobody sees it, you build consistency that will sustain you when visibility comes. Visibility attracts pressure, criticism, expectation, and temptation. If you haven't practiced faithfulness in the dark, you will not survive in the light. God watches how you steward the small things, the unnoticed things, the quiet things. If you can be faithful where nobody sees, He can trust you where everybody sees. During hidden seasons, God also removes the wrong people from your life. Not everyone can travel to your next level. Not everyone has the capacity to understand your calling. Not everyone has the character to grow with you. When God hides you, He often hides you from people who might sabotage your development. Isolation is not loneliness. It is recalibration. God subtracts wrong influences so He can connect you with the right ones when the time comes. Some relationships die in hidden seasons because God needs your ears to be clear and your spirit to be undistracted. Hidden seasons reveal your true strength. When life is quiet, when doors don't open, when opportunities don't come, when applause is silent, your real strength shows. You learn to motivate yourself by faith, not by external results. You learn to trust God's timing more than your own impatience. You learn to anchor yourself in prayer, not in performance. Strength forged in hiddenness creates stability and exposure. If you only stand strong when things are going well, you're not strong, you're comfortable. Hidden seasons build strength that survives storms, critics, disappointments, and spiritual warfare. God also plants vision in hidden seasons. When life is noisy, you can't hear God clearly. When you're surrounded by people pressure and expectations, your own voice competes with His. Hidden seasons silence the noise so God can whisper direction, identity, and purpose into your spirit. Many of the greatest revelations God gives come during seasons of quiet. Vision is born when distraction dies. God takes you aside so He can speak to you directly, deeply, and personally. In hidden seasons, God tests your faithfulness. Will you keep praying when the answer is silent? Will you keep serving when no one applauds? Will you keep believing when there's no confirmation? Will you keep building when nothing is growing? These questions determine whether you are ready for the next season. If you cannot remain faithful in the unseen place, you won't last long in the seen place. Promotion is not based on talent. It is based on faithfulness. Often hidden seasons feel like nothing is happening. But the truth is, hidden seasons are the busiest seasons in the spiritual realm. While you sit quietly and you're waiting, heaven is rearranging your future. God is preparing opportunities, building relationships, aligning timing, and crafting divine setups. You're still, but God is working. You're waiting, but heaven is moving. Nothing feels visible, but everything is being positioned. The silence is not emptiness, it is construction. Hidden seasons are also healing seasons. God deals with wounds you've ignored, issues you've buried, lies you've believed, and habits you've carried. He heals your heart, resets your identity, and restores what was broken. He cannot elevate you into a new season carrying old wounds. The hidden place is where God repairs what life damaged. And then one day, after the roots are deep enough, the motives are purified enough, the character is strong enough, the heart is healed enough, and the faith is mature enough, God shifts your season. Suddenly opportunities open. Suddenly people notice. Suddenly doors unlock. Suddenly resources arrive. It looks sudden to everyone else, but it wasn't sudden at all. It was the result of years of hidden preparation. When God reveals what He's been preparing, it always looks like overnight success, but only you and God know the cost of the hidden years. Hidden seasons are preparation seasons because God is too wise to reveal you before you're ready. And when He finally brings you out of hiding, you will realize that every silent day had purpose, every unnoticed effort had value, and every quiet moment was shaping the person you needed to become for the destiny He prepared. What God has prepared cannot be stopped by people, time, or circumstances. This truth is the backbone of divine destiny, the anchor that keeps your spirit steady when life tries to shake you, and the assurance that no matter what comes against you, what God has ordained for your life is untouchable. When God prepares something for you, it is sealed in heaven before it ever appears on earth. It is written into your story before you ever take your first breath. And because it is authored by God, no force in existence, human, spiritual, emotional, or circumstantial, has the authority to erase it. People may try to delay you, but they cannot deny what God has already approved. They may misunderstand you, underestimate you, oppose you, reject you, or walk away from you. But their opinions do not rewrite God's plan. People do not have the power to cancel heaven's decisions. They can only influence what you believe about yourself. The enemy works through people to shake your confidence, but he cannot shake your calling. God does not place your destiny in the hands of those who dislike you or question you. If He wants someone to bless you, He will position them in your path. If someone leaves your life, it is only because they were not assigned to the next chapter. When God prepares a blessing, a breakthrough, a calling, or an opportunity for you, He does not consult people's opinions. They may not think you qualify, But God is the one who prepares and appoints. They may think you're not ready, but God knows the growth He's producing inside you. You may not look like what they expect, but God sees what He placed within you. People's rejection does not stop God's direction. People's disbelief does not cancel God's promise. People may talk, mock, doubt, or resist, but they cannot override the decree God already placed on your life. Time also cannot stop what God prepares. You may think you're too late, too old, too far behind, or too damaged to step into what God promised. But God is not limited by your calendar. He does not work according to deadlines, birthdays, or the hours on a clock. Time is a tool in God's hands, not a threat to His plans. He can accelerate your life in a moment. He can restore years you thought were wasted. He can give you harvest in places you thought were barren. God is the only one who can make up for lost time, redeem lost opportunities, and bring you into a future that outshines everything you feel you missed. Your age does not limit God. Your past does not delay God. Your failures do not disqualify you from God's timing. Often, time feels like an enemy because we watch other people move ahead faster. We compare our progress to theirs and start believing we are behind. But no one runs the same race. No one has the same timeline. What God prepared for you is synchronized with your purpose, not your impatience. Time cannot block a blessing that has eternal roots. God can do in 1 year what you could never do in 20. He can open a door in 1 day that changes the next decade. He can bring one relationship, one opportunity, one revelation that shifts everything. Time does not stop God. God stops time. God bends time. God controls time. And when the moment is right, time becomes your servant, not your struggle. Circumstances also have no power to stop what God prepared. You may be surrounded by challenges that look impossible: financial pressure, emotional battles, family issues, closed doors, unexpected setbacks, or spiritual warfare. But circumstances are temporary. God's plan is eternal. Circumstances are limited by the natural realm. God's plan is rooted in the supernatural realm. Circumstances may shift, break, collapse, or rise against you, but none of them can cancel what God has spoken over your life. The storm may be loud, but it cannot silence God's promise. The battle may be fierce, but it cannot overpower God's will. The valley may be long, but it cannot erase the mountain God has prepared on the other side. When God prepares something for you, He prepares it beyond the reach of adversity. Circumstances might delay your movement, but they cannot destroy your destiny. They might stretch you, test you, shape you, or humble you, but they cannot stop you. Every obstacle you face becomes material for God to build your next season. Every setback becomes a setup. Every difficulty becomes development. Every loss becomes preparation. What was meant to break you becomes the foundation for what God is building. What God prepares is protected. It is guarded by His sovereignty. It is wrapped in His authority. It is secured by His promise. And the beautiful part is this: God does not prepare blessings that can be stolen. He does not write promises that can be erased. He does not build futures that can be dismantled. What He prepares is not fragile, it is fortified, not breakable but eternal, not vulnerable but secured by heaven. Sometimes it looks like circumstances are winning. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. Sometimes the journey feels so overwhelming that you wonder if the promise is still alive. But what you must remember is that every story God writes includes chapters that look chaotic before breakthrough arrives. The darkness before dawn does not mean the sun won't rise. The silence in the seed does not mean it won't sprout. The quiet before the miracle does not mean God isn't moving. Circumstances may look powerful, but they are not more powerful than the God who wrote your destiny. And here's the greatest truth. What God prepares does not need perfect conditions to manifest. Joseph reached the palace through a prison. Moses reached his calling through a desert. David reached his anointing through rejection and battles. Ruth reached her destiny through loss. Paul reached his assignment through opposition. Jesus reached His glory through the cross. Circumstances do not limit God. They showcase His power. power. When God prepares something for you, it is only a matter of time before it finds you. You don't have to chase it, beg for it, compete for it, force it, or manipulate it. What God has prepared will arrive in your life at the exact moment it is meant to arrive, and nothing, no person, no season, no issue, no attack can stop it. Nothing can close a door God commands to open. Nothing can curse what God has blessed. Nothing can intercept the blessing God has released. Nothing can halt the destiny God designed. So stand firm, walk boldly, trust deeply. What God has prepared for you is already settled. It is already written. It is already protected. And when the moment comes, not even the gates of hell will be able to stop it from reaching your hands. When you look back over everything you've walked through, the painful seasons, the hidden years, the lonely nights, the unanswered questions, you will realize something you couldn't see while you were in it. God was preparing you the entire time. Every delay was shaping you. Every disappointment was training you. Every shutdown was pointing you toward what was truly yours. And all those moments when you thought nothing was happening, everything was happening, God was not ignoring you. He was constructing your future. He was aligning people, building opportunities, removing obstacles, developing your strength, maturing your faith, sharpening your vision. And now, as you stand on the edge of a new season, you need to understand this truth deep down in your spirit. Your life is not behind schedule. You are right on time, God's time. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust that heaven has not made a mistake. What God prepared for you cannot be snatched by the enemy, cannot be delayed by people, and cannot be destroyed by circumstances. Your destiny is not fragile, it is fortified. Your purpose is not uncertain, it is anchored in the Creator who never lies, never fails, and never abandons His children. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders, dry your tears, walk with a renewed confidence, not in yourself, but in the God who holds time in His hands. The same God who brought you through will carry you into what He prepared for you. The same God who kept you in the dark will reveal you in the light. The same God who let you wrestle will now let you win. You can't always see the plan, but God sees the end from the beginning. You can't always trace His steps, but you can trust His heart, and you will witness with your own eyes the goodness of God in ways that make every painful season worth it. Your best time is not a rumor, it's not a dream, it's not a wish. It is prepared, it is set, it is fixed, and it is coming. So step forward boldly, move in faith, act like it's already done. Speak like it's already yours. Praise like it's already arrived, because in heaven's timing it has. And when that moment unfolds, and it will unfold, people will look at you and say, "How did this happen?" And you will smile and say, "It was God. It was always God. And He prepared my best time before I ever even saw it coming." Your story is not over. Your delay is not your defeat. Your waiting is not wasted. God has already prepared your best time. Now walk toward it.